For the first 50 years of military aviation, air combat was a brutal, intimate affair. Pilots engaged in close-range dogfights, maneuvering their aircraft to get a fleeting firing solution with machine guns and cannons. Victory depended on the pilot's skill, the aircraft's agility, and honestly, a healthy dose of luck. The sky was a three-dimensional arena where survival was measured in feet and seconds. This entire paradigm, however, was destined to be upended by a technological revolution that would push combatants further and further apart, transforming aerial duels into long-distance electronic chess matches. The concept of a guided self-propelled weapon was no longer science fiction. The seeds of this change were sown in the final years of World War II, with German engineers pioneering guided munitions. After the war, both the United States and the Soviet Union scrambled to harness this nascent technology. The goal was to create a weapon that could hunt down and destroy an enemy aircraft without the launching fighter having to be directly on its tail. This led to the development of the first generation of air-to-air missiles, or AAMs. These early weapons were, by today's standards, pretty rudimentary, but they represented a fundamental shift in the very nature of air warfare, promising to give pilots a lethal reach that was previously unimaginable. The core challenge was guidance. How could a missile be made to see and track a moving target? Two primary methods emerged: infrared or IR and radar guidance. Infrared seekers were designed to home in on the heat signature of an enemy aircraft's engine exhaust, making them heat-seeking missiles. Radar-guided missiles, on the other hand, would follow a radar beam pointed at the target, either from the launching aircraft or from their own small onboard radar set. Both systems had their own distinct advantages and, honestly, some crippling limitations, setting the stage for decades of technological competition and tactical innovation. The introduction of these weapons in the mid-1950s marked the end of one era and the beginning of another. The age of the pure dogfighter, reliant solely on guns, was drawing to a close. A new kind of aerial combat was emerging, one where situational awareness, electronic systems, and the capabilities of a fighter's missile payload would become just as important, if not more so, than its ability to turn and burn in a tight circle. The sky was about to get a lot bigger and a lot more dangerous as the era of guided air-to-air combat began to dawn. The American AIM-9 Sidewinder, which became operational in 1956, was the weapon that truly announced the arrival of the missile age. It was a relatively simple, infrared-guided missile that hunted for the hot exhaust of an enemy jet. However, its early versions, like the AIM-9B, were quite limited. They had a very narrow field of view, meaning a pilot had to position their aircraft almost directly behind the target for the missile seeker to get a lock. Its effective range was also short, just a few kilometers at best. Despite these constraints, the Sidewinder would soon prove that even first-generation missile technology could be decisive in battle. The first major combat test for AAMs came during the Second Taiwan Strait Crisis in 1958. Taiwanese F-86 Sabre jets, equipped with the new AIM-9B Sidewinders, engaged Chinese MiG-17 fighters. In these encounters, the missile's potential was made clear. The Sidewinder allowed Taiwanese pilots to score kills from distances that were impossible for the MiG's cannons. In a strange twist of fate, one Sidewinder hit a Chinese MiG but failed to explode. The missile was recovered, handed over to the Soviet Union, and meticulously reverse-engineered, leading to the creation of the Soviet K-13 missile, a near-perfect copy. This event set the stage for another critical conflict that highlighted the importance of missile superiority. During the Indo-Pakistani War of 1965, the Pakistan Air Force flew American-made F-86 Sabres armed with the more advanced AIM-9B Sidewinder. The Indian Air Force, meanwhile, was equipped with Soviet-supplied fighters carrying the K-13, the copy of the very same missile. However, the American-made original proved to be more reliable and effective than the Soviet copy. This technological edge gave Pakistani pilots a significant advantage, demonstrating that the quality and capability of a nation's missile arsenal could directly determine the outcome of battles in the air. These early conflicts served as a wake-up call for air forces around the world. The lesson was stark and unambiguous. Going into a modern air war without effective missile technology was a recipe for disaster. The focus of aircraft design and pilot training began to shift dramatically. It was no longer just about outflying your opponent, it was about outthinking and outranging them. The need for better seekers, longer ranges, and all-aspect engagement capability, the ability to lock onto a target from any angle, not just from behind, became the driving force behind the next generation of air-to-air missile development. The limitations of early missiles spurred a relentless technological race. The goal was to create weapons that could engage targets from beyond visual range, freeing pilots from the necessity of seeing their adversary with their own eyes. This required a leap in both missile and radar technology. Modern BVR missiles, like the American AIM-120 AMRAAM, are active radar homing weapons. This means the launching fighter's radar initially guides the missile toward the target's general location. Once the missile gets close enough, its own small internal radar activates, allowing it to independently track and intercept the target, a capability known as fire and forget. This evolution has dramatically expanded the battlefield. While a first-generation Sidewinder had a range of about 5 kilometers, today's advanced missiles can reach out to incredible distances. The European Meteor missile, widely considered one of the best in the world, has a range estimated at around 200 kilometers. The latest version of the American AMRAAM, the AIM-120D, pushes that out to a similar distance. These weapons are powered by advanced motors like the Meteor's ramjet, which allow them to maintain high speeds all the way to the target, making them much harder to evade. The very long-range category is currently dominated by a handful of powerful missiles. Russia's R-37M, with a reported range of up to 400 kilometers, has proven its lethality in the skies over Ukraine, scoring kills at distances previously unheard of in air-to-air combat. China's PL-17 is also credited with a similar 400-kilometer reach, designed to target high-value assets like tanker and surveillance aircraft. The United States fields its own weapon in this class, the AIM-174B. These super stick missiles represent the pinnacle of current BVR technology, designed to hold an enemy's most critical support aircraft at risk from hundreds of kilometers away. Combat at these distances is less a dogfight and more a calculated electronic ambush. Success depends on a complex network of systems. Powerful fighter radars are needed to detect targets far away. Secure data links are required to share targeting information between friendly aircraft and even with off-board sensors like AWACS planes. Advanced electronic warfare systems are essential to jam enemy radars and spoof incoming missiles. In this environment, the fighter that can see farther, shoot farther, and guide its weapons more effectively holds the ultimate advantage, turning the sky into a lethal, long-range chessboard. Just as the world's air forces have settled into the 400-kilometer frontier of BVR combat, a new development threatens to shatter the existing paradigm. According to reports from early 2025, Chinese scientists are in the final testing phase of a revolutionary hypersonic air-to-air missile. This weapon is claimed to have an astonishing maximum range of up to 1,000 kilometers. If this capability becomes operational, it would represent not just an incremental improvement, but a quantum leap in aerial warfare, creating a threat bubble so large that it could fundamentally change strategic calculations in regions like the Indo-Pacific. To put this range into perspective, it is 5 times that of the top-tier European Meteor missile and 2.5 times the reach of the longest-range American, Russian, and existing Chinese missiles. A fighter jet carrying this weapon could, for example, fly well within the safety of mainland China's own air defenses and still be able to threaten aircraft operating over Taiwan or parts of Japan. This creates a standoff capability of unprecedented scale. Support aircraft like tankers and AWACS, which are essential for projecting air power, would become incredibly vulnerable, potentially being shot down before they even reach their operational areas. The missile's extreme range presents a targeting problem, as most fighter radars cannot see out to 1,000 kilometers. The solution likely lies in a networked kill web. China has been heavily investing in a sophisticated network of high-altitude surveillance drones, satellites, and ground-based sensors. This network would detect an enemy aircraft, calculate a firing solution, and then feed that data to a launching fighter jet, which acts merely as a truck to get the missile into the air. The missile itself would likely fly a high arching trajectory, climbing to the edge of the atmosphere before plunging down on its target at hypersonic speeds of Mach 5 or more. If this weapon enters service, it could force a complete rethinking of air combat doctrine. Current advanced fighters like the American F-22 Raptor, with a top speed around Mach 2, would have little chance of outrunning such a missile. The concept of air superiority, which has been the cornerstone of Western military strategy for decades, would face its most serious challenge yet. The future of air combat could become a deadly contest between competing sensor networks and missile ranges, where the first site to be detected is the first to be destroyed, from a distance that makes the dogfights of the past seem like a relic from another world.